Hi, boys and girls. Good morning. We are week 7. We are Friday. So, good morning and happy Friday. It is so early for me, but I got up so I can read the chapters of Miss Kraft is Stabbed. So, I need to read chapters 10, 11, and I think there was a 12, right? Yeah, there was a 12. Okay, so let's get started. So, chapter 10, it's called Getting Suspended. It says, wow, Mr. Klutz was really mad, and so was I. When we went out for recess, I gave everybody a piece of my mind. Well, I didn't really give them a piece of my mind. If I did that, I would have less mind for myself. But I told them how angry I was. How come you guys didn't drop off your books on the floor at 1 o'clock? Because remember, they were all supposed to do it, but AJ was the only one who did it. I asked. That was the plan. We chickened out, Ryan told me. So we called off the big book drop. Why didn't anyone tell me that you called off the big book drop? I asked them. And look, there he is getting after everybody. Like, really, guys? Really? I thought you told AJ, Ryan said to Michael. I thought you told AJ, Michael said to Neil. I thought you told AJ, Neil told Alexia. I thought you told AJ, Alexia said to Ryan. Nobody told me, I yelled at them. And now if I do one more bad thing, I'm going to get suspended. What does being suspended mean anyway? Asked Alexia. It means you get kicked out of school, I told her. Kicked out of school? She said. So you won't have to go to school anymore? That's right. Hey, that means you get to stay home and watch TV, Ryan told me. Sounds pretty cool to me, said Michael. Yeah, said Neil. I wish I could get suspended. You're lucky, AJ. That can't be right, said Alexia. Are you sure that being suspended means that you get to stay home and watch TV? That's when Emily and little Miss I Know Everything walked by us. Hey, Andrea, shouted Ryan. You know everything. What does being suspended mean? I'll look it up, Andrea said cheerfully, so she reached into her pocket and pulled out her little dictionary. I guess she carries it with her wherever she goes so she can look up words and show everybody that how smart she is. Andrea leafed through the dictionary for a minute until she found the right page. Ah, here it is. Suspend. To hang. Suspend means to hang. So if AJ does one more bad thing, Neil said, Mr. Klutz is going to hang him? What? I yelled. I don't want to be hanged. Sorry, dude, said Alexia. It's in the dictionary, so it must be true. I wonder if the past tense of hang is hanged or hung, said Andrea. Who cares? I yelled. Yeah, either way it's gonna hurt, said Neil. I wonder if Mr. Klutz is gonna hang you by your feet or by your neck, said Michael. If you get hung by your neck, your head might fall off, said Ryan. Yeah, but if you get hung by your feet, all the blood will rush to your head and it explodes, said Neil the nude kid. It's been nice knowing you, AJ, said Ryan. This was turning out to be the worst day since TV turn-off week. Poor AJ hanging from his feet. So chapter 11, are you ready? It's called The Most Amazing Trick Ever. When we got back to class after recess, there was a long wooden box in the front of the room. It looked like the kind of box that you use to bury people in. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kraft announced. Are you ready to witness my most amazing trick ever? Yeah, everyone shouted. No, I said. What's the matter, AJ? Asked Miss Kraft. I thought you liked doing magic tricks. If Mr. Klutz catches me doing one more bad thing, he's going to hang me, I told her. So I don't want to be involved in any more tricks. Don't worry about Mr. Klutz, Miss Kraft told me. I know how to take care of him. So what's your most amazing trick ever, Miss Kraft? Asked Neil the nude kid. I'm going to saw one of you in half, she announced. Cool, we all shouted. Sawing people in half is just about the coolest thing in the history of the world. Where did you get that big box? Asked Ryan. At a big box store, said Miss Kraft. Okay, which one of you wants to get sawed in half? Me, we all shouted. Not me, said Miss Little Perfect. I don't like violence. What do you have against violins? I said. Not violins, Arlo, Andrea said, rolling her eyes. Violence. I knew that. Violence and violence were two different things. I was just yanking Andrea's chain. Okay, said Miss Kraft. Okay, said Miss Kraft as she opened the lid of the big box. The student who gets to be sawed in half will be Andrea. Please come up to the front of the big room, Andrea, and climb into the big box. Andrea looked really mad. She was the only one who didn't want to get sawed in half, and now she was going to be sawed in half. Ha, na boo boo on her. At first I thought she would refuse to do it, but Andrea always does anything a grown-up tells her to do, so she went up to the front of the room and she climbed into the big box. There was a hole at one end for her head to poke through. Are you comfy? Miss Kraft asked Andrea. I want to make sure you're comfortable before I saw you in half. Yes, Andrea said, but she sounded like she didn't mean it. She looked like she might cry. Miss Kraft went to the closet and took out a saw. It was gigantic. Eek! Andrea screamed as she looked at the saw. Don't worry, Miss Kraft assured Andrea. This won't hurt a bit. I'm scared, said Emily, the big crybaby. Miss Kraft started sawing the box. Sawdust was flying everywhere. Andrea closed her eyes. The saw dug into the box. I am the great Kraftini, shouted Miss Kraft as she pushed and pulled the saw back and forth. Help! Andrea shouted. Stop! We've got to do something, Emily shouted, and then she went running out of the room. Whew, that was hard work, Miss Kraft said after a few minutes of sawing. She wiped her face with a tissue. Then she wiped Andrea's face with a tissue. Can we stop now? Andrea begged. Stop, said Miss Kraft. I'm only halfway done. You know what they say. If you start a job, you must always finish it. Miss Kraft went back to sawing for a few minutes, and then she stopped again. I'm tired, she said. Who wants to take over? Me, everybody shouted. AJ took over, Neil said. Look at that. AJ should take over. He hates Andrea more than anybody. It was true. Nobody hates Andrea more than I do. Sawing her in half would be like the greatest moment in my life. But I knew what would happen. I'd start sawing Andrea in half, and then Mr. Klutz would walk in and suspend me. Everybody started chanting, AJ, AJ, AJ. Would you like to finish sawing Andrea in half, AJ? Asked Miss Kraft. I really wanted to saw Andrea in half, but at the same time, I really didn't want to get in trouble again. I was faced with the hardest decision of my life. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I was concentrating so hard that my brain hurt. AJ, said Ryan, if you don't want to saw Andrea in half, that must mean that you're in love with her. What? That's right, said Michael. AJ, you can prove once and for all that you're not secretly in love with Andrea by sawing her in half. Let me out of here, Andrea shouted. I don't want anybody to saw me in half. Okay, I finally agreed. I'll do it. Yay! Shouted everybody except for Andrea. So I went up to the front of the class, and Miss Kraft, she handed me the saw. Are you sure it's going to be okay? I asked her. Sure, I'm sure, she replied. Go ahead. I've done this trick 1,000,000 times. Nothing can go wrong. I started sawing the box. Help! Help! Shouted Andrea. Don't do it! Stop, Arlo! The sawdust was flying, and Andrea was screaming, and everybody was hooting and hollering. This was the greatest day of my life. Ooh, Ryan said. AJ is sawing Andrea in half. They must be in love. When are you going to get married? Asked Michael. If those guys weren't my best friends, I would hate them. Help! No, stop! Andrea shouted. I was almost finished sawing through the box, and you'll never believe in 1,000,000 years who walked into the room at that moment. I'm not gonna tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. But you have to read the next chapter first. So, na boo boo on you. Look, and here's AJ sawing Andrea. Okay, let's see what happens. Ready? We're going to start the last chapter, chapter 12. It's called The Return of Mr. Granite. Maybe he's feeling better. Wait, let me have some coffee. Hold on. Okay, here we go. The Return of Mr. Granite. Okay, so where were we? Oh, yeah. I was sawing Andrea in half while she was screaming and begging for me to stop. And that's when, guess who walked into the room? Mr. Klutz. And he was madder than I had ever seen him. I thought his eyes were going to pop out of his head like those cartoons. AJ! He shouted, grabbing the saw out of my hand. What are you doing? Nothing, I replied. If you get caught doing something really bad and somebody asks you what you're doing, you always say nothing. Even if you have a giant saw in your hand and you're about to saw somebody in half. That's the first rule of being a kid. Sawing students in half is not acceptable behavior in school. That's it. I warned you several times, AJ. You are suspended for the rest of your life. Look, he's yelling at him. Poor AJ. What? But I didn't do anything, he shouted. Miss Kraft, tell me this was all your idea. Oh no, this is AJ talking. Miss Kraft, tell him that this was all your idea. And that's when the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened. Miss Kraft snapped her fingers. Well, that's not the amazing part, because anybody can snap their fingers. Look. Can you snap your fingers? Okay. The amazing part was that when Miss Kraft snapped her fingers, a big puff of smoke appeared where Mr. Klutz was standing. And when the smoke cleared, Mr. Klutz was gone. Oh, zap, just like that. We got to see it live and in person. You should have been here. How did you do that? We were all asking. Where did Mr. Klutz go? A magician never reveals her secrets, Miss Kraft said. I told you I would take care of Mr. Klutz. Look. Amazing. Well, that's pretty much what happened. We didn't see Mr. Klutz for the rest of the day. I don't even know where he went. When I got home, my mom had a snack waiting for me in the kitchen. How was your day? She asked. Did anything interesting happen? Nah, I told her. School's boring. You say that every day, AJ, my mom said. Interesting things must happen at school sometimes. Nope. Well, I wasn't going to tell her that Mr. Granite almost died, or that I tied up Miss Kraft, or that I sawed Andrea in half, or that Mr. Klutz suspended me and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So look, there's his mom. When I got to school the next morning, Miss Kraft was gone and Mr. Granite was back in our class. He was sneezing and honking and blowing his nose everywhere. Okay, everybody. Oh, wait, no. He was sneezing and honking and blowing. He wasn't blowing his nose anymore. Okay, everybody, he said. Turn to page 23 in your math books. I've been waiting all year to do this lesson, and today we're finally going to do it. Mr. Granite, I said, we did page 23 yesterday. Nice try, AJ, said Mr. Granite. I know you're just trying to get out of doing math like always. No, he's telling the truth for once, Mr. Granite, said Andrea. We already did page 23. Yeah, everybody said. Is that so? Said Mr. Granite. Well, if you kids think you're so smart, what's 11 times 11? 121, we all shouted. What? Said Mr. Granite. How did you know that? Mr. Bungo taught us, said Ryan. He's a sock puppet. That's when Mr. Granite did the weirdest thing in the history of the world. He went over to the window, opened it, and he jumped out. Maybe Mr. Granite will come back to class someday. Maybe we'll find out where Mr. Klutz went. Maybe people will stop blowing their noses into garbage cans, and maybe we'll get to bungee jump in the all-purpose room, and maybe Miss Kraft will stop running into doors and juggling brains and pulling handkerchiefs out of her nose, and then maybe Mr. Bongo will become a real teacher. Maybe I'll throw my nostrils under the table. Maybe our real sub will escape from the lion's cage at the circus, and maybe we'll do another book drop. Maybe I'll get another chance to saw Andrea in half. Maybe I'll be able to talk to my parents into letting me to go to clown college. But it won't be easy. The end. Hey, that was a good one. I like that one. That one was pretty funny. It really makes you wonder, what happened? And man, AJ was getting in trouble, wasn't he? Okay, boys and girls. So here is the quiz number 157821, and it's a 3.5. I hope you enjoyed today's. Now, this is the end of week 7. I love doing this, boys and girls, and I hope you are loving these stories. Next week on Monday, I will have another book for you. Now, don't forget to tell your mothers Happy Mother's Day. It is this Sunday. Give her a big hug. Thank her. Thank her because we moms do so much for you and we love you so much. All right, boys and girls, have an awesome weekend. And don't forget to come back Monday to watch watch the video, but that way you can listen to chapters 1 and 2 of our new book. Bye, boys and girls.